Well, welcome, Therapy Flow community. Today we're talking about value-driven content. We're going to talk a little bit about it through the email context, but when we think about developing, nurturing, and converting more clients, they need to be able to consume, see, and understand what you do as a practice, the value you have, like, know, trust you, and all the other fun general off-the-shelf marketing terms that we could throw in this bucket. So we're going to pick it apart a little bit and actually talk about the things that will move the needle. And I think what maybe matters if you're like in the 1 clinician to 10 clinician range is different than if you're at like 20 to 30 or 40 to 80. And we'll unpack it from the perspective of volume. A practice with 80 clinicians is doing a volume of leads and a volume of sessions that a practice of 2 clinicians is not, and vice versa. And so what might not be reasonable on a time investment level for a tiny practice could be huge outcomes for a big practice. And so when we think about taking the time to develop great value-driven content for your practice, we're going to dig into that today. Let's go.
Yeah, I think I kind of want to start this with 2 maybe reminders. Reminder 1 is you are living and breathing, buying and selling mental health services. Your clients or potential clients do not live and breathe buying mental health services. And so I think what's really unique is sometimes when you're in the weeds, you don't see that you're in like a huge forest of maybe people or other things that are happening around you. And the reality is most people don't buy mental health services, let alone buy multiple times. And so I think we forget that people don't know the process. People don't know what makes you different. People don't know what questions to ask. People don't know a lot about purchasing mental health. They don't know if they're in the right place. They don't know if they're buying, most of the time, even the right service. They're just interested in something, or they read somewhere online that maybe they should look for help, or someone told them about you maybe offhandedly and they've been procrastinating to reach out. So keep that in mind. You are in the day-to-day of buying and selling mental health services, but your potential clients really aren't. And I think the last reminder that I have before we hop in really is, as you're marketing, you're generating a list for your practice. And as you're building this list, it's really truly the asset that you're building for your practice. When you go to sell your business, a business with a bigger list will sell for more. And that's a really interesting take, because there's kind of a point when you're building your list and your marketing that your boat kind of gets too big to sink, right? You have so many people on your list, so many people that have opted in, that when you send out emails, you're consistently generating new clients from it. And so think in terms of that. Like, this is a long-term strategy, but we're building something that will make you uniquely maybe like sync proof, right?
Yeah.
You really start building something so big, so potent, the ROI on it really starts to scale past maybe like some of those more linear type of marketing events, like paid ads, where you have to sort of pay to get more. This is something that's not quite linear.
When we talk about content, whether it's in newsletters or social media or on your website, anything where someone is consuming stuff about you and discovering and exploring, kind of the first truth that we want to share is perception is reality. Perception is reality. So, if you've ever been in a conversation and that person like shares something and you don't quite understand it because they only shared the out loud part and not their entire thought process. And so you think they mean something else, or you think they're saying something else, or whatever. All the marriage counselors in the room are like, every day. Within that, though, perception is reality. Same is true for your marketing. If it looks and feels and presents in a certain way, it doesn't matter what your intentions were. It doesn't matter what you were trying to say. It matters what the average person actually experiences it as. To use some non-industry examples and then pull it back. Number 1 is, a lot of lipstick containers, especially the higher quality brands, put weights inside of the lipstick containers in order to create the perception of a heavier, better, higher value product, because their expensive lipstick weighs the same as the cheap lipstick, and they need to find a way to differentiate. And that's a way of like, we're trying to create a new reality and a new perceived reality for our product through an asynchronous piece. And so perception is reality when it comes to generating content for your practice. And so the first thing you just have to ask yourself is, how is this being received, to Attilio's point, to the people who are not often buying therapy or exploring therapy results?
And I think as we're digging in deeper, there really is, like, you all know, like the Pareto principle. I think that's what it is. The 80-20 rule, right? Where 20% of something typically yields like 80% of the result. And oftentimes there's inverses for it. It's a great sort of benchmark for things. And I think that when we're looking at helpful content and even content marketing like this, there really is a 20-80 type situation here, 80-20 type situation here, where the topics that you need, the information that you need to provide, there's really not a lot of things that you have to do. When oftentimes in content marketing or even PR, you'll hear that people repeat themselves often. If you like follow maybe celebrities, or you follow even, like, since we're hot on the election right now, we're hot on the trails of the election. The types of content and material that people present is like a static set of material. And when you think about your content, really there only needs to be like 6 or 7 questions that you're consistently answering and just hammering at different angles. And you just need to select those pillars for your practice and the information that your clients will receive effectively. One of the easiest ways to do this, to give you maybe some more technical items, Google SEO and OpenAI are all working together. Google, what did I say? Google SEO. I meant Google Reddit. Google, Reddit, and OpenAI are starting to really work together right now, because Reddit is an incredible forum for people to drop their questions and get answers. And so for those of you who are like, I don't know what topics to write about, I don't know what kind of elements people are asking for, the types of answers that they're looking for, go to websites like Reddit and just look around your topics. So look, if you're an EMDR or couples counselor, just type in couples counseling and see kind of what comes up. What are the questions people are asking? What are the answers you can provide that are maybe a little bit different, or might be able to present the information in a unique way for yourself? Another one is Ask the People. It's a really good one. And of course, you can always look at Google's FAQs. So just type in searches based on your types of keywords, and you'll see all those little drop down like accordion menu things. Just go deep into that rabbit hole and you're going to get tons of topic ideas. So shoot for that 20% of things that are going to make 80% of the impact, and dig in deep there for your value.
Yeah. When we think about that 80-20 rule and that process of repetition, those 7, 8, 12 questions that every client is asking, 2 things to lead you through that as well. Number 1, you can also ask, what do my best clients, the clients who stick with us for a while, the clients who pay our rates really easily, the clients who say yes really quickly on the phone call, what do they all have in common? What do they know? What do they believe? Where did they come from our marketing? What actions did they take? What did they read on our website? Just pick it apart and say, what do they know that our other clients should also know? And how can I get more of that information, that belief, that process, that content in front of more of those clients? And the other thing is it can feel like you want to share volumes of content, but often you just need to find how to share it in a slightly different way. So some of the best performing website pages, it's block 1, it says, Sally sells seashells by the seashore. And block number 2, it's, we also think through it from, you can buy seashells at the seashore from Sally. We're sharing the same information, but we're sharing it in a different format. So great web pages kind of have repeat cadences of the issues they help and how they help and how the clinicians help. And you're kind of all pointing back to the center focal point, but in slightly different ways again and again. Your newsletters do this, like you're circling the same 5 to 12 core topics, your email content, your social content. Don't feel like you have to come up with volumes of new things. What you really have to do is come up with ways to say consistently the same thing over and over again in slightly new ways. So it grabs people, repeats people. And one last example is in a sales call yesterday. I went top to bottom with explaining what Therapy Flow does. And the person was like, wow, that was so helpful. That was everything you just said in the videos that I watched on your website. And it makes sense. And I'm glad you repeated it all because I'm really understanding. So what you have to also understand is repetition to you, because you're surrounded by it, feels like repetition. For someone who's never dove into this information before, that repetition is actually valuable because it confirms inside of them your consistency, what you actually stand for and what you aren't about, because it reduces information overload when every time they interact with you, they kind of get the same information again and again in a positive way.
Yeah. We underestimate how powerful repetition is. And I think when you're kind of dialing this whole strategy in, small actions at a high volume are large actions. So I think the best businesses in the world tend to not necessarily have something super unique or different about them. They're actually just really good at doing the small things well. Right? When you have a customer support question, they answer your customer support question and it's resolved really quick. Or the service is just really consistent and you're just happy that every time you go there, you get a consistent result or end item, right? Every time you pick up that pack of gum or whatever, you chew it and it's exactly the same as it was last time because, hey, they're doing good. They know what they're doing. It's on point. There's nothing wrong. You don't have to like take your gum back to the store to return it every time because it's melting or something. So think in terms of these small actions that you're producing on at a high volume to create your large actions, which is that large output, the full content marketing system. What are those small actions for you? So set that up for yourself and just stick to it. Doesn't require
To
too
kind
much.
of bring this to email marketing on those small actions, it takes you the same amount of time to write one email every single week in perpetuity. But if your business is growing and your list grows, then that email that you send every week takes you 1 hour to write or 2 hours to write or whatever it is. It becomes increasingly more valuable every time you send that email, as long as your list is growing, or every time you do a reactivation campaign. Same with leveling up your intake. If you practice objection handling and you guys are doing more and more intakes, or you do the volume of intakes across the entire year and you practice figuring out these logistic objections and getting people to move forward, over time, that work you put in at the front end becomes more and more valuable because the volume that you are doing, the volume that you are doing. And so, especially for therapists, where you aren't selling these giant high ticket price point pieces, or you're doing low volume of actions, which means small changes can have a giant ripple effect across a month or a year, much less a multi-year segment.
Yeah. Yeah. Stay consistent, guys. Have some helpful content. If we didn't drill into it, maybe we can drill into some helpful content. Like we said, 6 or 7 core topics, and just think through new analogies. Think through new ways to present your topic. I think as a coach, I don't find myself saying different things because the fundamentals are always the fundamentals. But it's like just that new way that you can make a drawing, or that new way that you can combine or like thread 2 or 3 different topics together, that finally it clicks. Sometimes it takes people 6 months to like they've heard it consistently, but then it finally clicks after 6 months of like trying different things, trying to work their way around it, and then finally it all coalesces.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. It can take a lot of time. Repetition's a good thing. Keep your volume high and stick to the plan. Stick to the plan.
Definitely. And one last final tip: when you think about creating great content, And there's a lot of other industries that have really gotten it right on a structural level. What do I mean by that? The formats, the templates, the cadence. So you look at captions, you look at how the video is edited, you look at the structure or the template of the email. I'd say if you're looking at a lot of other therapy practices, at best, they're borrowing from other outside industry places if they're doing it really well. And at worst, they're doing a very unoptimized version of it. So especially when you think about structure for how you should format your content or your website or all of those things, it might be helpful to look at other therapy processes, brands, or newsletters, but not on a content level, but on a structure level. There's probably a lot better examples out there that will guide you for better converting formats or structures for your content or your social media or some of those things.
Best of luck, guys. You
We'll
got
see you
it.
next time.
See y'all.
Cheers.